Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our third session. As you can see, I'm fully set up for you guys today. I've got my diving mask. I've got my jacket on that I wear when I'm getting on the boat for when I go scuba diving. And so I thought I'd kick things off this way today. First of all, to make you laugh. And second of all, because I did share with you yesterday how important health and wellness is to me, and I shared with you that particular goal, and I wanted to literally demonstrate to you guys that when goals are so important to us, we need to make sure that we have things around us that are a continuous reminder. So I'll take these crazy goggles off my head now, but my objective really in doing this and in sharing a little bit of this craziness with you at this point in our time together was, I do have certain things that I place in and around me as a reminder as I'm going through, my days. Let's be honest, our days can feel onerous and overwhelming at times. And so I have little cues in and around my house, separate from my vision board, even separate from, the goal vision board that I asked you guys to think about yesterday and to work on for your specific goals. And these little cues around my house just remind me in those moments when I'm frustrated or feel like my goals are out of reach. They just remind me to keep going, to stay on track, and to stay motivated, because it's so easy to get demotivated. We know that because, life throws us a curveball. Oh my gosh, I feel like life throws us curveballs sometimes, what feels like every single day. And so as a result of that, I thought, I'm going to share with you guys honorably and honestly that I have these crazy little habits that I have. In fact, for a while, the battery's dead and I actually have to get a new battery, but I was wearing even my diving watch every single day, even when I wasn't diving, even in the middle of winter, because it reminded me that when the time was right, I was going to be able to go diving again. So it was just those continuous little cues that keep us motivated as we're working through things. Well, today's our last, session together, although I do have a bonus for you for tomorrow. And I hope that, so if you can attend tomorrow, then please do. But I hope that in the process of our time together, you've had an opportunity to pick up some tips and some tricks. And as you're doing that, don't hesitate to join our Facebook group. I keep forgetting to tell you guys to, or suggest that you do that. So we have a Goal Greatness Facebook group. And I would strongly suggest that you connect to us there, because there are other like-minded people on there that are striving to achieve their goals. And so we can all help each other, provide each other support, tools, incremental learning, all of those good pieces so that we all stay the course and achieve our goals. So we've covered quite a few things so far. We've gone through our taking stock, which we're going to come back to before we close up today. We've talked about our holdbacks, and I hope you guys feel like you've definitely put those behind, not like behind you and sort of off to the side, so that they don't continue to impact you every single day, because we do want to move on. You went through your big, long list of goals. And let's be honest, this is a never ending list, right? This is something that you're going to continue to work on and do in perpetuity, which is awesome. So, just as we scratch one goal off our list, we usually add another goal to our list. And then yesterday, we kind of dove deep into how can we really craft our goals and put some sentiment and some real heart around them, so that as we are working through their achievement, they're right there, they're top of mind. We can see them, feel them, touch them, taste them all around us. And so we continue to stay inspired. I suggested to you guys that you try to pull together some images that really capture your goal, and that you, as clunky as it may seem, pull together a sentence that is sort of like your elevator pitch to yourself on your goal, what it looks like, feels like, and sounds like. And then today, as I ask you guys how you did with that, I also want you to think about, what are those little cues, like my crazy goggles that I started off with, like my scuba jacket, that you can put around yourself, your home, that are just those little reminders. For a while, actually, I had a very key personal development goal, and I actually wrote it on my mirror in my bathroom. so that every time I would go into the bathroom, first thing in the morning, when I would brush my teeth, when I'd hop out of the shower, I constantly saw that little reminder on my mirror, and it reinforced a belief that I needed to have and to embrace in my own development in order to go to the next level. And it was a game changer. And so I often recommend that to people that, we got to do what we got to do to keep ourselves inspired and motivated. And sometimes that is super, super challenging. So we've got to help ourselves, and there are little ways that we can do that. So before we move on to some of the content for today, I do want to ask you guys, how did you do on working through your goal, creating that succinct sentence, kind of mapping it out a little bit, and then creating a little bit of a vision board for yourselves? Any comments or feedback out there on how that went? Share or ask questions. Do you have any questions on this? Anybody out there? And if you don't, no big deal. But if you want,
everything's clear.
Everything's clear? Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, well, that's good. What I'd like to do today then, and I asked you guys to do, is to ensure that you then took those goals, and ideally you have more than one of these, right? You've got anywhere from 3 to 5. And we're going to talk about the other ones that you didn't get to, but are still on the list, and you don't want to leave them or let them fall by the wayside. We're going to talk about those ones today as well, so that you don't forget about them. But of course, they're just not in that top 3 to 5. And there's an expression that clarity or focus, so either word, clarity or focus breeds mastery. So take that in for a second. Focus breeds mastery. And so it's really important that we focus on 3 to 5 goals, because of course, how could you focus on 15 goals? We can't juggle 15 balls over the course of a day. It's challenging, right? If I gave you 1 ball, you could easily throw it up and down in your hand. If I gave you 2 balls, you could probably figure that out. If I give you 3 balls, you might drop one, but you could pick it up and then you could get it going. And so they're going to come in and out. As soon as I start to add more and more balls for you to juggle, it's really challenging. And if I gave you 15, you'd be like, are you kidding me, girl? They're all going to be on the ground except maybe 1 or 2 in your hand. And at this point, you're, jerking back and forth to try and catch any of them. That same analogy can apply to this, which is really, if the more that we focus, the more that we can actually ensure that we're keeping that ball in the air, keeping on track, and actually ensuring that we achieve it. So my other ask of you yesterday was to take those 3 to 5 and kind of lay them out over a trajectory of time, so that you could see, can I actually achieve these? If I lay them on top of each other with their timelines, have I got a doable plan here? So, whatever month that you are in, or if often what we do is we stack everything into the upcoming month, or we stack it into January because it's in the beginning of the year, or June because we're at the midway point, or September because, we're kind of at that last quarter of the year. So we stack everything in these months, and then we kind of give ourselves a break in the other months. And so really what I'd like to propose to you is you don't actually think of it that way. You think of it as a continuous calendar, that while there's 12 months in this year, it easily slides into 12 months in the next year. And it's a very fluid calendar. And so what you really want to do is ensure that you put things in achievable time slots, less so in, the more functional structures that we have historically had, because sometimes those functional structures hold us back. That was the blessing of, when we were all in school. We knew when the school year was, what we needed to do every day, et cetera. And then, things would break off for our summer holidays, and we would be thankful for no structure. But then as the summer holidays wrapped up, we'd be thankful for structure again. And I kind of want to get you out of that mindset. I want you to look at each month as an opportunity to have some structure and rigor, and that there's 12 months in a year that easily flows into the next 12 months. So you really map out your time with the truth of your life, which is that we constantly have things that are coming in and out of our days, weeks, and months. And so if we plan it properly, then we can allow for us to move things forward, move things back, and make adjustments. So I'm hoping you guys did okay on this. Please stop me if you need any help on this, but really the goal here was to establish some realignment, or if you're okay with your alignment, kudos to you. And as I said to you guys yesterday, there could be, 12 columns here. There could be 20 columns here, whatever your time horizons are, put them in there so that it feels really doable. And then make sure that if you do make any adjustments to your goal timelines here, that you go back and adjust them on here so that everything aligns and everything is consistent. That is critical, that everything is consistent, because then you're going to be able to ensure that, okay, I've got it all mapped out properly. It's like you can't change a deadline on a critical path and assume that everything else falls into place. So let's make sure that everything is up to date and everything is in the right places. Once you actually do that, our next step is to really now start to apply this and put it into our calendar. This is where the rubber really starts to meet the road, so that we know today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, what are the steps we have to put in place in order to achieve the goals that we have established for ourselves. So one thing I did propose is that you take wherever you are in the year as we're having this conversation, and you start to map out the 12 months that are ahead of you. And what I want you to do is now say, okay, and you may have done that up here, but if you didn't actually do it up here, then really start to do it here. You've got to find a timeline that works for you. And I'm probably going to come back to this. I'm going to, I don't want to cause any confusion, but I'm going to go back and forth here, because this is where we really start to get personal about how we manage our time. And so everyone that I talk to manages their time so differently, and the tools that they use so differently. And I don't want to propose any new tools. This is not about learning a new tool. And there's millions of calendar management and product management and productivity management tools out there. And I love and hate many of them. But I will share with you what I use, and I'm providing you with some of these frameworks. But at the end of the day, what I want you to do is craft what works for you. And so if mapping it out this way that works for you, then that's great. I shared with you yesterday, and in fact, I'm going to bring that back today, that while I use this analog calendar, excuse me, sorry about that. While I use an online calendar, thank you, I also have an analog format that I use. And I do that so I get that big kind of 12-month view all at a glance where my different goals are. Because I find, obviously, when you do that online, it's a bit of a struggle. So you got to figure out what works for you. But let's get into where I'd like you to go with these goals and actually plotting their course in more detail as it relates to your calendar. So here's my belief. If we manage our days, everything falls into place. And I truly believe that. And I am a firm believer of really rigid time management. But let me tell you what I mean by that. And I'm going to take you through how I manage my calendar so that I can achieve my goals. And to me, these two are 100% linked and the fundamental key to success. Our calendar is like our bank account. And I kind of hinted to you guys yesterday, if you look at your bank account is a reflection of what is important to you in the moment every single day. So if you actually look at, your savings and checking account, the one that you use every single day, whatever it is, and you look at all the itemized things that you spend your time and money on, that is a real reflection of what you are prioritizing. You might not like what you're prioritizing, but it's a factual representation of what you're prioritizing. I would say the same thing applies to our calendars. Just as we're sitting here talking, take a look at your calendar. Just sort of flip over to that screen for a second, whether it's on your phone or on your desktop, bring it up as I'm chatting with you. Take a look at the meetings you have scheduled, the personal appointments you have scheduled, the doctor's appointments, the dentist appointments, the holidays, all of those things that you have scheduled. Or, as I'm triggering those comments, the things you don't have scheduled, the family functions you don't have scheduled, the meetings you don't have scheduled, and you're leaving them to memory or to happenstance, or the holiday you hope you're going to have. Unfortunately, nothing happens until we actually mark it off. So this is what I'd like to propose to all of you. And I would break your goal, your calendar management into these buckets. And then what I'd like you to do is add your goals as an incremental layer. So I could just suggest to you that you put your goals in here right at the top. But I was like, you know what, that's going to make it a little bit cumbersome. So we're going to get a little bit of a time management / goals course in here. And then I should share, I do have a time management course that's available. And I called it Nikki G's Time Management Success, or the Key to Success. And I share that with everybody. And I say it a little bit tongue in cheek because nobody wants to talk about time management. Like, that's the most boring thing ever. Said no one to a friend, do you want to meet for drinks and talk about how you manage your calendar? Like, no one says that. But as I said, this is fundamental. So take a look at your calendar. And then this is what I would like you, and this is a good opportunity to sort of write these notes and make sure that you do this perhaps after we're finished today. But first and foremost, your calendar that you use the most should, of course, track all of your key work, school, events, meetings, etc. So those buckets of time that you either have on a daily basis or a weekly basis, whatever the cadence is for meetings or whatever, that is what your online calendar should track. So if you meet with somebody every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, put that in your calendar, make sure it's blocked off. This means you're not going to forget, but that also just shows you, when you look at your calendar at a glance, that you, as an example, shouldn't put in Tuesday at 9 o'clock an opportunity to, move forward one of your goals, because you're already booked at that time. But you can see hopefully where I'm going with this. Then obviously what I also suggest is you put in any key deadlines. So if there's big projects or priorities that you have to work on, put in a reminder 7 to 14 days in advance. And that's where I would suggest that you potentially also consider. So another thing I'm going to have you put in your pocket is put some things with your goals that way as well. So you'll have those little reminders. And then the last thing is obviously to note any holidays. So to me, these are statutory holidays, your own holidays, days you need to take off, etc. Block them in your calendar and know that you have them. The next key thing to put in your calendar is any key appointments. So doctor, dentist, if you have children, PA days, if you have birthdays, celebrations, wedding, whatever it is, mark those days off in your calendar. And then the last, but actually the most important piece, is to mark in your calendar those personal buckets that are really important to you. So any workouts that you want to have, if you want to schedule time early in the day to take care of to meditate or to take care of your morning practice and ensure you're not disturbed, whatever it is, put that in. Put in, if you want to have dinner with your mom or get on a Zoom call with her once a week or once a month, whatever it is, put that in. Like, actually schedule those things in. Here's the thing, you may adjust when those happen. But the good news is even in the adjustment of those, you will have taken note that they're important, and you will then find another time in your calendar to actually make them happen. So I would like to suggest that you do that on a just sort of personal overview basis. This will just help you get your calendar under control. And I would suggest that this is a great takeaway for, after we wrap up today, is to really have that critical view of your calendar. I'm on my calendar every single day. And so to that point, let me share with you, how does this now start to meld into your goals? So obviously we have days, weeks, months, years, and then we have specific days when we do specific things. So I obviously would like to propose to all of you that you make sure that everything in your days is correct. And if there's something that happens consistently over, the same Monday, make sure that you have it in there consistently. Then take a look at your week and take that kind of bird's eye view of your week. I'm holding up my book as I'm saying that to you, but obviously online, and find buckets of time where you can make time for working on your goals. Up here or here, whatever has worked for you as a tool, you've identified the key months when certain things need to happen. And so now within those months, you've got to find time to now check off, how am I going to work on that milestone? So I'm going to give you an example because that will just probably help clarify some of this. So I'm working on a book. I've made that pretty public. I have to have a certain amount of edits done by August 1st, by the first of a month. And so what I've had to do, therefore, is backtrack in order to ensure that I actually get those edits done. And so obviously in here, it's noted, I have to have this done. So now as I am looking at my calendar, I'm looking at my days, knowing, how many chapters do I have to have done? How can I break up those chapters? So if I give myself a chapter a week, a chapter a day, how does that work? And so now I'm looking at my calendar and looking at pockets of time where I can optimize when I know I will be at my best writing self. And at the same time, I don't have any other commitments in place. And now I'm going to block off that time. And I'm going to hold that towards the achievement of that goal. And I actually do. I actually block off that time. So as an example, using today is actually the perfect example. I have blocked off my entire period after this session to actually sit and do some editing. And so once we're finished today, I actually have one more meeting. I'll have that meeting. I will go for a walk. I'll do a bit of a refresh my mind so that I have separated away from the work that I had planned. And now I'm going to do the work that's important to me towards achieving my goal. And so I've blocked off a few hours so I come at it from a fresh and inspired perspective. So, we're in control of our calendar and we're in control of our attitude with how we manage it and how we address the achievement of our goals. So as opposed to going, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this done and feeling overwhelmed about it, I can use my calendar as a tool to keep myself inspired and on track. So I will actually look at my calendar. So I like to work 2 to 3 weeks out, which means that I am literally, so this week was already baked. If I find little pockets of time, I quickly block them off so that I can either go for a walk, do a workout, or do some editing or work on one of my priorities. So when I see those pockets, I definitely block them off. In addition, though, I've got that 2 or 3 week horizon so that everything is there. And I know that, okay, I've got to have this done by this time. So that's kind of how I look at my days and my weeks and my month. I bring all of them together. My intent, obviously, is over the course of the year, our days add up to our weeks, add up to our months, add up to our year. So over the course of the year, the hope is that I will have achieved that goal because I've kept track all along the way. It's not like I'm sitting here at the end of the year or at a key trajectory point saying, oh my gosh, did I do those things? This is not like when we're back in school or in university and we pull an all-nighter. Can't usually pull all-nighters to achieve our goals. Usually our goals require a degree of discipline. And so this ensures that we're staying accountable to that discipline. But, to be perfectly honest with you, discipline is something that we have to impose on ourselves. And this is where I would also say to you, if you struggle with that, this is where you can reach out and get help and support or get yourself a coach. So that's, at the very beginning of this conversation today, this is where I find people require support and interaction the most. The other part that we've led to today, that's honestly the fun part, right? Like dreaming about your goals, figuring out what they look like and all of that. And the physiological impact feels really good. Now the rubber's meeting the road. And that's where we actually have to start doing the work. And so that's where we need the support. So that's where, as I shared with you earlier, our Facebook group comes in really handy, or you can reach out to me. So whatever is going to help you stay the course and achieve those goals is why we're here and what we want to help you do. So let me then share with you, sorry to flip that a little too quickly, but I've shared with you the days, weeks, months, years. Let's talk about what you're going to do Monday to Thursday. And then let's talk about how we're going to structure your time on Friday and Sunday. So you'll see I use my days and how I manage my days and therefore how I manage my goals a little differently. So let me share with you my little secret here. So Monday to Thursday, I basically, I operate my days, but I check in at night. So night. end of day, whatever the appropriate language is for you. So if your day ends at 5 o'clock, if your day ends at midnight before you fall asleep, whatever it is for you, I kind of do a check-in. Okay, what did I get done? What did I not get done? And what are any key follow-ups? So I set myself up for the day, the next day. And obviously, the next day has meetings and things like that. And that's where I might have to use some of those pockets of time just to get work done. So whatever it is, and I do take that into consideration. So, as I said to you a few minutes ago, I steal pockets of time to work on my goals, but I also ensure that, I'm not working on my goals in every waking minute. Let's be really honest. So I am using some of those pockets of time to get done the different things we have to do, expense reports, writing content, whatever it is. So whatever it is required as part of your life management, doing laundry, the excitement of laundry. You got to use that time according to what you need to get done as well. So definitely from Monday to Thursday, I use my end of day to sort of do my to-do list for the sake of argument. In the mornings when I get up, I kind of review that list, see what can get done that day, what's a top priority, or what do I need to move to other days. And so now I feel like I've got my day ahead of me because all my meetings are already planned, my time blocks are there, whatever it is, it's already there because I have already planned that well in advance. And if spontaneous things come in, I can decide where they fit in that day or in that week. And I could choose whether I'm actually going to do them or not. So I think that's the other thing, that this gives you better decision-making power on your calendar because you can decide, I've got a 2-hour or 3-hour time block today to do editing, but I've also had the opportunity come up where I can go on a boat cruise. Which one do I want to do? Do I want to seize the opportunity and go on that boat cruise and I'm going to find another time to edit, or is editing actually the priority that I want to make? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm not passing judgment on whatever decision gets made, just saying it gives you, because you have this view of your calendar and it's so buttoned down, it gives you an opportunity to see what you can move and what you can't. And this way you're still moving in the direction of achieving your goals. Because I think when we don't have that discipline applied, that's when our goals don't happen, because we're often choosing the boat cruise, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then we've got to find that other block of time. And I think that's what, when we see with the blocks of time, we see that we've made ourselves accountable and made a commitment. So now if we're going to give up that block of time and go on the boat cruise, then we've got to find another time somewhere else. You can't cancel a meeting, as an example, with your boss and assume that it's never going to happen. You cancel the meeting and you just find another time in the calendar. So have that same discipline apply to the buckets of time that you have allocated to the achievement of your goals. So that's kind of how I plan my Monday to Thursday. My Fridays and my Sundays, I use very differently than my Monday to Thursday. So, I think we'll talk about Fridays first, but I'm going to talk about Fridays by bringing up the Sunday scaries. Now, the Sunday scaries are a sentiment that many of us have had over the years, where legitimately on Sunday nights, we get super uptight about our work and the things that we have to get done over the upcoming week. And that was something that really plagued my family and I. We'd all get super uptight on Sundays. And so it would almost ruin the entire day. So we had a conversation about it, and I actually had shifted what I was doing, and I found it was working. And so actually my kids have adopted that. And so what all of us do separately, obviously, is we do a review of our week and what needs to get done for the upcoming week on Friday mornings. And in fact, sometimes I'll even move that to late in the day, Thursday, if I have time on Thursdays. And what that does is, by looking at it on Friday morning, it means I actually put in some time on Friday mornings to also get ahead of that work and get myself organized so that I don't have the Sunday scaries. It actually squashes that anxiety because I've already got myself organized for the week. So now when Sunday comes, it's kind of like, oof, I know what's ahead of me. I've got my plan in place and I'm going to be able to achieve this. So that's really, really how I use my Fridays, is really to ensure that I can have a nice, relaxing weekend and I'm well set up for the week ahead. And then I also, at the same time, do that 2 to 3 week horizon so I can feel good about that time ahead of me. Now let's talk about Sundays. So to me, Sunday mornings, they're my favorite morning of the week. I have to be honest with you. I love Sundays because I feel like, I don't know, there's just something maybe from my childhood, from, when you look at religious practices, they're often on Sundays, but I just feel like it's a quieter time for many of us. And so what I would like to propose that you do on Sundays is just find that maybe 1 hour or whatever the appropriate block of time is for you. And you actually put it in your calendar. And if Sundays doesn't work for you, that's fine. Find that block of time. If these don't work for you in this cadence, then find a cadence that works for you, but commit to that cadence. So I'm just sharing what works for me. So Sunday mornings, I will have in front of me both my online calendar, and then that's where this calendar comes in. That's where my goal calendar really comes in. And this is where I take a look at the blocks of time that I have put in for achieving my goals. How am I doing against what I have planned for that month and the month ahead? And therefore, am I going to achieve what I had intended for the year? So as I said to you guys, I have, I've already done this chart. I've already done this chart. And then I have this need to write things down by hand. So you have to do what works for you. But I then have the 12 months of the year here in my calendar so that I can see, okay, what is my key priority for every single month? And then I have the 7 days of the week up here. And I have my final year-end goals here because I have a 3-goal focus. So it's really important to me that I take a look at this as I'm doing my Sunday review and get a sense as to, how am I doing with this? Am I ahead or am I behind? And if I'm ahead, great. Does that mean that I actually have to adjust some of the plans that I had in here for the upcoming months and move them forward? And how does that affect my other goals? So I can actually do that adjustment on Sunday morning. And or I'm behind on a few things. And so what do I need to do to give myself that time? And that's where a combination of this and your online calendar allows you to take a look at what you have booked and potentially make some changes. What I also do as part of that is I look at, especially if I have to make changes, I look at the structure of my days. And am I doing what I need to do to take care of myself and to optimize my productivity and my motivation and inspiration? Because I do find that if we are falling behind, it may be because there's a sense of overwhelmed, we're not in the right mindset or mood set. And so we kind of have to do a little bit of an adjustment on ourselves. And so actually, and I'm not meaning to use this as something else for you to check out, but I actually did create a Change Your Mornings, Change Your Life program. And part of the reason that I did that was because I found so many of the people that I was coaching were challenged by their overall health and well-being. And if you focus on establishing some rituals and routines that you do to manage your overall health and well-being on a daily basis, and you actually do it in stride, it actually eases the responsibilities and the weight that you feel on yourself as you embrace each day. So it makes doing your work more fluid and it makes achieving your goals more fluid. So it's a good time for you to sort of evaluate all of those, that bigger contents, that bigger picture about your life is on Sunday mornings. So that's where, in my mind, you get a good opportunity to do some of the work that we all refer to. The work is that practice of really peeling back the layers about yourself and getting to your underlying motivations and inspirations and challenges and shadows and figuring out, okay, what do I need to do so that I can clear my own clutter and get to that next step? So I'm hoping this is making sense to you guys. So let me just kind of sum this up for a second before I get to, our other goals. Take a look at your calendar, put in everything that you need to block off time for and know about. And this even includes if you've got a trainer, you got to go to the gym, whatever it is, block it all off in your calendar. Really make sure then that you start to plot your goal pieces into your calendars, whether that's for things that you need to do for the days, because you will have specified it up here or in here, weeks, months, years, etc., so that you have that bird's eye view. Then, really, as you are starting to go through the rigors of your week, start to sort of put reminders somewhere for yourself. You know, many of us use our cell phones to be an alarm clock. Well, what if you used it as a reminder to do a check-in at a certain point in the day? Or on Friday mornings, just that reminder, hey, you know what? Let me set myself up for the week. So not only have you already blocked up that time, but you've almost pre-planted what the agenda is going to be for that time for yourself. And that's where sometimes, you know, if you do keep notes in your online calendar or you keep notes in your offline calendar on that Friday morning, you know, you can pre-plan some of that agenda for yourself by just dropping some notes on there, and you're clearing the clutter out of your head. And then on Sundays, take that hour for yourself. That's your, you know, 1 hour of talking to yourself and with yourself to ensure that you're staying on course versus straying off course so that you can achieve your goals. Is that feeling pretty clear to everyone? If it's not, like, raise your hand, let me know, because otherwise what I'm going to do now is talk about all those other goals, because I don't want you to lose sight of those other goals. So if you're feeling good about this, then I'm just going to keep moving on. Okay, I'm going to keep moving on. When I asked you guys to do this big review of all your goals, and then I asked you to prioritize them, there could be some goals that are still there and you're like, but I still want to achieve that one. Like, don't forget about that. What do I have to do so that I don't forget about these goals? So that's what we're going to talk about next. This is what I'd kind of like you to do, is I'd like you to never, ever leave those goals on the shelf. And in fact, have a continuous list that you're always adding to, and separate them out in two ways, potentially. So I'm going to leave this up to you. Sometimes we have goals that are out there on a 3 or 10-year horizon, whatever it is. I like to put out, I must admit, of these two, I kind of prefer using this one, but I've given you a bunch of different formats. You have to do what works for you. So pick the tool that makes the most sense. But I like to list those other goals. So not my priority goals. These are the other goals. I like to list them. And I like to list when I would like to have them achieved by. What this does is that, and I may have a list that's got, like, some of them are going to be achieved in this year, some of them are going to be achieved down here. And it's not in order of priority anymore. It's just this ongoing running list. What this allows me to do is, as I am achieving the goals that I currently have a focus, I can take a look at this list and see, like, do I want to now start bringing some of those ones forward? And in fairness, I might have added more to this. So now this list just continues. My hope here is what you're seeing is that this is a process that never ends. You know, if we have one goal today, as soon as we achieve that goal, we're going to give ourselves another goal another day, and then another goal another day. So my hope is that what we're creating here is a discipline, and I'm giving you the tools for an iterative process so that as you grow and evolve and you achieve your goals, you just keep running your goals through this process and you just keep achieving them over and over again. And I can commit to you, and I guarantee you this works. You know, I said to you when we, in the very first session, I've had over 5,000 people go through my life blueprint process. The goal focus is just one part of that process, but it is a fundamental piece. And it's often the piece that we use to evaluate, you know, are we delivering on the goals that we have for our life? And I have to honestly tell you that that is the biggest takeaway that those who have gone through the program have, is that not only have they achieved goals, but they're achieving them faster. And so their whole life feels so much more holistic as a result of going through the whole life blueprint process. And then very specifically, they're checking those goals off the list. So you're welcome to take a look at the life blueprint process, and obviously reach out if you'd like more information on that, but it's also on my website. But fundamental to that is really all about the achievement of goals, because that's what leads to our life satisfaction. My last point on here is that what I'd really like you to do as you work through all of this is take that step back. So after you do this today and you've done the work now on having that, you know, amazing vision board that for your individual goals. You've now laid out all those other goals. You've put a structure in place for managing your days, weeks, months, years. Now, what I want you to really do is like take that step back. So here's the other thing. This is not a one and done. You can continue to massage this over time, but the good news is that you've put it all in place. You've built the structure, you've built the framework. Now it just requires ongoing management. And that is the beauty of it, is that now if you adopt this as a discipline, you just continue to edit and evolve and in stride. So take that step, take a breath, step away, breathe, and really look at it and go, is this what I intended? Is this all manageable and doable? Do I feel good about it? And if not, make the adjustments. And if you do, then kudos, man, rock and roll. And you can start rocking and roll as of today. There's a reason that you're here. There's a reason that you chose to sign up and evaluate how you are doing with your goals. So commit to achieving your goals, commit to the process. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. If we want to achieve our goals because we haven't been, then that typically means that what we have been doing hasn't been working. So it's time for something new. So my hope is that I have given you some great new tools over the course of our time together. I truly feel that we need to, and this is my quote, live like our life depends on it, because it really and truly does. And so if we live fully every day and we're living in the present, because we've got everything in there that matters to us, booked off in our calendars, etc. And at the same time, we've got the plans to achieve our goals in place. Then at the end of our days, as we reflect back, we're going to be like, oh my God, I lived really fully. I didn't miss anything. I seized the opportunities. I let my family and friends know that they were loved every single day, or whatever is important to you in your value system. And if you need that ongoing support and encouragement, as I've shared, join the Facebook group. We are literally a couple of clicks away. And then you can also follow me on Instagram, because I'm constantly giving little tidbits and reminders as to the things that can make hopefully your life smoother and simpler and more fulfilled. And of course, you can reach out to me at any time if you require incremental coaching or support on this. But before we fully wrap up, I do want to put it out there and ask you if you have any questions. And then I want to give you a little bit of a teaser for tomorrow. So are there any questions before we wrap up and I set you on your way for the rest of your day? Any questions, comments, concerns?
No questions. You're awesome, Nicole. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, that's good. Well, thank you. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of a teaser for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a bonus. So I'm hoping you come back tomorrow. I won't steal the full hour of your time. I want to just give you a few minutes of perspective and thoughts that will hopefully help you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, I got this. I feel really good about this, and I know I am on the right trajectory. So we're going to sort of dive into a little bit of the life blueprint process, which will help support this goal process and hopefully help you feel even more inspired and more motivated every day, so that you achieve those goals and you do live fully every single day. So same bat channel, same bat time. And I will see you back here tomorrow. If time permits for you, it definitely will permit for me. And I look forward to seeing you then. So thank you. Have a great day. Go do your work. Plan your calendar. Plan your time. Make sure you have a great life.
Bye, thank you, Nicole. I'll see you tomorrow.